Hey everybody, Braden from WAG Productions here, and today I'm going to be making a guide on how to practice movement in Smash 4. This guide will mainly have a focus on some nest techniques, but overall you can use it as a general guide to improve your movement for any character. One thing I wanted to say before I get into my training regimen is that I think as a player my strongest suit is my movement, and I believe that this practice has helped me get to that point. I start off every training session with a quick dash dance. I do that for about a minute or so, and that's just to kind of fire up the thumb muscles and also strengthen them. I believe that helps with the rest of the techniques that I'm about to show you. It's not really necessary competitive play, it doesn't have too much utility, but it's just a good way to get things started, get your hands warmed up. I switched to Falcon to demonstrate the extended dash dancing that I do, because he is a character who can do it much easier than the rest of the cast. You can practice this with any character, but certain characters like Captain Falcon, Marth and Lucina, Roy, they all have very easy extended dash dances, so if you're just starting out, these are the characters I recommend starting with. And for extended dash dance practice, I do 3 sets of 10 dash dances back and forth like this. Unfortunately, I did mess up a few times before I got that one right, but as you can see, just do it 10 times, and if you do mess up, start back from 0 and try again. It can be a little bit frustrating at times, so if you want to start out with just 3 sets of 5 instead of 10, you can certainly do that. Moving on to the next section, we have the perfect pivot. If you watch players like MK Leo with his Marth, you notice that they utilize this mostly for spacing. It can be used for some combo extenders. Players like Void and his Sheik would be an example of that. But what I do to practice perfect pivot is I do at least 50 perfect pivots on each side, like this. So I just do a little bit of that, and you can take it all the way across the length of the stage if you really want to. It doesn't really matter. I feel like as long as you get 50 of each, you should be good. Next up we have Rar Aerials, and for Rar Aerials you can use any aerial you want. I tend to use Ness's back air because that's the technique that I use most in tournament, but again, you can use any aerial. And for Rar Aerials I do 3 sets of 15. If you do end up messing up, then you have to start back from 0, so I will provide an example of that right now. So as you can see, that's one of the easier techniques to perform. It doesn't take too much effort. That's one of the easy ones to master, but one of the more useful ones. The next technique I want to talk about is shield dropping. While not as useful in Smash 4 as it is in Melee, it still can be very useful. Say if somebody's pressuring your shield, you can go ahead and shield drop. You can mix up different aerials in your shield drop. I'm not great at shield dropping, but the method that I use to practice is I do 100 on any platform that you want, just as long as you're properly executing the shield drop. Just an example of when this could be useful for Ness is if you're holding shield and you do a shield drop up air, it will hit the opponent on the standing on the same platform as you, so that's just one use of the technique. So the last general section that I wanted to cover is B reversing and wave bouncing. Now, not every character is going to benefit from this in regards to their movement, but the characters that do, you can practice these in 3 sets of 15. Again, if you don't get 15 in a row, you have to start back over from 0 until you can consider that a complete set. But with Ness, I like to practice my B reversed down Bs or PSI magnets because I feel like that is the most useful in aiding his movement. As you can see, those weren't quite perfect, but we did get 15 B reverses in a row, which was the main goal of that section. Now for the last section of the general guide, I would like to do what I call a combination technique. and it's just where you move across the stage and you implement as many of the different movement techniques as you can. So let me just give you a couple of examples. Alright, so those are just a couple of different combinations that you can do. It's just really something to play around with and have fun. The last technique that I'd like to cover today is more Ness specific, and that would be his down air cancel. Other characters do have access to this, like Kirby, but Ness gets a lot out of it, so I feel like Ness mains need to master this technique in order to succeed. In terms of how I practice this, there's not much to it. It's a very simple technique to perform. You just down air simply after you fast fall out of your short hop, but I usually like to do this in 3 sets of 30. Again, if you mess up before you reach 30, just go back to 0. But this can be practiced in different scenarios that will be more useful, and I'll give one example of that. So one of the techniques I find most useful is to down air cancel into immediate pivot grab or perfect pivot grab. And the reason this is so useful is because imagine if you're pressuring your opponent by hitting their shield with back airs, then you can mix them up by hitting them with the down air cancel into immediate grab and catch them off guard as a mix-up. There is one last Ness technique that I wanted to cover before I close out this video, and that would be my platform movement. How I practice this is I run off the platforms while up airing, and I climb back up the platforms by successfully down air canceling. Now what I usually do is I go down and up 10 times on each platform. This is to avoid potentially getting an up smash at the edge of the platform instead of running off the edge and up airing. That's going to do it for this video. I appreciate everybody that watched this point, and I hope that you learned something. I think that Ness really has fallen off as a character, and I think that the only way he can climb back up the tier list is if Ness mains do optimize his movement and start implementing that into their play. So again, thank you for watching, and if you don't understand how any of the techniques work, I will put links in the description to videos explaining how to perform those specific techniques. Then you can come back to this video and learn how to practice them. Thank you very much, and have a great day.